What's going on, guys? Brad Messersmith here with Slurv.com, bringing you another GPP strategy breakdown. This week we're going to be covering the RBC Canadian Open with what is going to be quite a bit weaker field than we're used to seeing over the past month or so. A lot of the stars tend to take the week off after the major championships, and obviously with the Open Championship last week, we're seeing a lot of guys take the week off. That being said, we've still got some studs in the field with the RBC sponsorship, so let's go ahead and get right into it. I've got some guys at different price ranges I want to cover this week. Worth mentioning, I think the top two guys, Dustin Johnson and Jason Day, are going to be significantly higher owned than typical. I think you're going to see the top two guys come near or breach the 30% ownership mark. Seems like it's going to be a stars and scrubs type of week with the pricing. So just something to consider as you're building your lineups. I still haven't landed on how I want to handle that, but either play both or fade both consideration may come into play this week. So something to think about when you're building your rosters. First guy I do want to touch on, though, is Matt Kuchar at 10,600. Obviously, he was a little bit disappointing in the two most recent majors. However, Matt Kuchar has a tendency not to play well in some of the really stronger fields. He's kind of what I call a weak field specialist. And if you look kind of if you look at his recent form outside of the majors, you see that he's got top 10s all over the place. He suits this course really well. I think Matt Kuchar is in line here for another good performance. Be careful. It's possible his ownership is going to be high, even though he had, I think it was a 52nd place at the Open Championship. Kind of burned a lot of people, including myself. So something to consider with Kuchar, but I still like him. I think I'll take him, and I'll take him overweight on the field at 10,600. He feels like a really good candidate for another top 10 here. Dropping down a little bit, I really like Tony Finau at 9,300. At first glance, Tony Finau at 9,300 feels like he's pretty well overpriced, but I think this is a week where we have to sort of throw out those pricing differences because of the weak field. Obviously, that may be something that leads to Tony Finau at low ownership, so I like that. Played pretty well at the Open, but most of all, he's got really good par 5 scoring, which is going to be a huge key this week. Par 5s are some of the easier holes on the course, so a lot of the scoring is going to come from those par 5s. So if guys aren't able to take advantage of that, they're going to be out of the mix. And I like Tony Finau to go ahead and take advantage of that par 5 scoring. At 9,300, I will be on him. Another guy, Ryan Palmer at 8,000, who I really like. He's probably my favorite play of the week. I'm going to go pretty well heavily owned on him. I'm really going to go overweight. He can score on gettable courses, kind of a birdie maker. He's actually ranked number 3 in par 5 scoring. So obviously, like I said, really, really incredible spot, I think, for Ryan Palmer at this price tag at 8K. I really don't think there's all that much of a difference between a guy like Ryan Palmer and Tony Finau. I think they have a lot of the similarities in their game. I think they have similar upsides and downsides. So, like I said, really, really like Ryan Palmer this week. It's possible as the week goes on he may become popular. We'll see. But with his pricing deficiency and his ability on par 5 scoring and birdie making, I really like Ryan Palmer this week a lot. The next guy I will cover is going to be Jimmy Walker at 7,700. Jimmy Walker is definitely not somebody I'm going to be going all in on by any means. I think he makes some sense on this course, but obviously he's a pretty volatile player. Definitely wouldn't recommend him in cash games, but we're talking GPPs, and I'm perfectly okay with taking on a guy who has some inconsistencies in his game. I think Jimmy Walker makes a lot of sense on this course. He's 17th in par 5 scoring, 37th in birdie or better percentage, and 39th in tee to green. I think if he can find a way to kind of keep himself out of trouble and out of the water, I think Jimmy Walker should do well on this course. And you know, if he finds his putting stroke and makes some putts at what I expect to be pretty low ownership, I think Jimmy Walker can really pay off his salary and give us a plus EV situation. So the last guy I want to talk about is Chad Campbell, who I also really like, probably just behind Ryan Palmer as my second favorite play of the week. Chad Campbell at 6,800. Don't write him off because of his age. Obviously, he's over 40. I think he's 42, if I'm not mistaken. But he is 22nd in par 5 scoring and 30th in strokes gained tee to green. So despite his older age, he has the stats to play with the best of them. And we've actually seen older players perform pretty well here at this event and on this course. We've seen the likes of Stuart Sink, Jim Furyk, Jerry Kelly, Charlie Hoffman, Mark Wilson all have top 10s, and most of them are, when they had their top 10s, were over 40 or nearing 40. So definitely don't write Chad Campbell off because of his age. I think that we've got a really good opportunity here to play a guy who makes a lot of sense statistically and shouldn't be too overboard in his ownership this week. So definitely a good option to consider there. As always, you guys can find me on Twitter at Brad Messersmith, Messer Smith. If you guys have questions or want to know about other players that I didn't cover today, give me a shout on Twitter. Go ahead and go listen to our podcast, the Fantasy Golf Degenerates podcast, and check me out on the Slurve Expert Chat on Wednesday nights at 9:30 Eastern. Other than that, guys, thanks a lot for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time.